A lot of even the committee might see it and be like,
yeah,
couldn't handle Kansas, huh?
That's true.
I don't think they can really do that when they're like one of three undefeated teams.
No, but what I'm saying is if BYU loses and they
Oregon's...
couldn't handle Kansas, then they're just going to drop them to 12.
Thing is, though, honestly, it doesn't matter. The conference championship game is what matters, right? For both of our teams,
undefeated into the conference champion.
That's true. They could afford to lose it, probably.
They may be able to lose and allow the.
Although Oregon's on the ropes in Wisconsin.
Oh, they are. They're only up. They're
up by 3. Wisconsin has the ball
on their own 20 on Wisconsin's own 24. Also, by the way, hello, welcome everyone. We're live.
Oh, okay.
I just, I hit the button and then we started.
We're gonna go live now.
Well, I hit the button and then we started talking about the BYU stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I am recording, so you don't have to send me the file.
Okay, fantastic. That sounds good. Welcome to another episode of the BCS show. I'm CJ. We got Bryce. Go BYU. And we got Spects, who has been transitioned to a new college football team. Let's go.
For the rest of the way
Whatever.
I mean, don't worry. I still have the, don't worry. If we can play both sides.
He's going to play both sides, so he always wins. He's like Mac and Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I can always come out on top.
Root for
He's gonna do one of those half jerseys like the moms do when the two brothers are playing against each other.
No, I'll root for Colorado in that one because I was telling CJ this. My logic is strictly because Colorado hasn't done jack diddly squat since like the 90s, and you're like, well, BYU hasn't either.
I mean, true. We're both underdog stories.
I mean, the whole thing is they're both probably going to get into the college football playoff.
Yeah, BYU, Colorado, Big 12 championship, just like we all thought.
Yeah, just like we predicted. 100%.
This is what we predicted.
Yeah.
Me as a BYU fan, everybody was like, "You're a homer," and I was like, "Dude, it's easy."
Utah, Kansas State, what?
Unless BYU loses out.
Major player injured too, so now BYU might have hopefully some luck turning their way.
You say Kansas just got someone hurt?
Yeah, Kansas is I forget what his name is, but he's decent.
Gotcha.
Kansas, number 2 receiver.
Who's gonna
remember his name?
Number 2, Arnold?
Lawrence Arnold, it looks like.
Yeah, okay.
That's a name.
And he's pretty important to their success, so maybe BYU does something good.
And Iowa State's only up 3 with halfway in the third.
Yeah, let's lose there too. I need a buffer for Colorado because I am
Cincinnati
terrified
has
they're
the
gonna
ball
lose.
and they're at midfield. So
okay, cool, awesome.
Keep our eyes all around.
I'm keeping my eye. You'll see me kind of looking off, almost in the distance the whole podcast because I'm gonna be watching this BYU game on my other monitor to see if.
There's 40 seconds left.
That's okay. We all do that at some point. Like Specs with USC, me usually with the Nuggets or Avs. But
yeah, luckily,
Wisconsin.
It was funny. My wife asked me,
Wisconsin barely.
My wife asked me earlier. She's like, "Are you canceling the podcast again today?" I was like, "No, last week it was because it was BYU Utah."
Yeah,
I was like,
"We're
playing Kansas today, and while it's not a given, and it's not I'm not sitting here going BYU's going to win because it's probably going to be an interesting game. I'm okay with coming in the third quarter. Hopefully they're only down by a touchdown, or maybe they're up by a touchdown or 2. And if that's the case, then that's fine. But
right.
So I was like, I want to play games tonight. I'm not going to go another whole weekend just not gaming. So
yeah, hell yeah, Fortnite.
Fortnite.
But before that, we need
I won't be streaming though because I want to be able to keep my eye if I can
on the game. Yeah,
if the game gets really interesting at 10:30, I don't want to have to be like, oh, stop everything.
So I guess while we're talking college football, we had this conversation earlier about the Heisman, and it's about that time of year, and I would like us to make cases. Because I am 100% biased towards Travis Hunter, but I know that that is not the consensus here.
See, I don't have a bias.
You do not. Fight. No, true. I
have nothing against Colorado. I'm not like the biggest fan of the Dion culture thing.
He's gonna be great.
Swag, dude. Love the
it's
swag.
It's grown on me a little bit this year. I don't absolutely. There's just sometimes the way he confronts the media. There are times that I'm like, you're being just a smidgen unfair to a reporter when it was his, his station that said or wrote something, and it's
right.
Like,
yeah.
I don't know. There are times that he irks me a little bit, but other than that, like I said, I've got nothing against him. So, speaking of Boise State, because that's my guy is Ashton Jeanty,
and I think that's probably the 1-2, right? Hunter Jeanty. Like I know the odds right now have the
pulled it out. Boise State pulled away in the fourth quarter.
They did, yeah.
Okay, I was watching that game, and then BYU came on, and it was like
nothing.
I think
else
it was
matters.
still 28-21 at that point, and I was like, "Well, I still gotta start the BYU game." So it's like, anyways.
So I looked up the betting favorites because I was intrigued. So, well, really, I just wanted to know what were the numbers were.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, the top three are Travis Hunter, Jeffrey, and then it's or Dylan Gabriel's 2, and then Jeffrey 3, with Cam Ward coming in 4. Yes.
You mean?
Yes.
Spects has a hard time with words.
To be fair, I also wasn't looking at it, so.
I mean,
those are the top 3. Those are the top 3. So it looks like it's not even. There you go.
It is interesting that it makes sense that other guy's Dylan Gabriel, given how good Oregon is, and he's a quarterback.
And he has the record, and he set the record for most college FBS touchdown passes, even though the guy's been there since 1932.
Damn, that is crazy.
Ooh, Oregon pulled it out, so Oregon won 60.
Yeah, Oregon. Yeah, they held on.
Oregon barely won.
Does it change anything to them this year? What happened? To them versus Idaho, versus Boise State, and now versus Wisconsin.
So hilariously, Dylan Gabriel's been in college since 2019.
That's a long time.
And he started with UCF, went to OU, and now he's ending at Oregon. I think he's played more than Bo Nix.
No, there's no way. Bo Nix was in college forever.
There's the potential, by the way. There's the potential with the struggles that Utah's having at quarterback right now. Mm-hmm. There's the potential that Cam Rising could come back another year, and he still could potentially push for 2 years of eligibility.
Yeah, that guy needs to retire.
If he gets a medical red shirt for this year, and then there's this transfer rule that they came up with, like it was a settlement in court with the NCAA.
Mm.
That basically, because he had to sit out a year when he first transferred to Utah, he can now use that as an extra year of eligibility. So he could potentially just be in college till he's like 30.
So we got it's Van Wilder, dude. That's the
man's gonna be older than college quarterback than NFL QBs in college. To be fair,
with his injury history, I would pursue those extra whatever years of college you can get, because I don't think he's gonna get much in the NFL with.
Oh, he's not getting drafted.
Yeah, well, no, not just not getting drafted. I think I would have a hard time seeing many teams willing to sign him.
Yeah,
just because it's like, other than maybe like saying like, oh, he could be your good practice squad guy.
Cam Rising started in 2018 in Texas, and now it's 2024 and with Utah, in his 4th year with Utah.
I mean, it kind of makes sense if you're him, right? Because he probably would make more money off of NIL than any salary.
I will say, Brandon Rose looked really good in the second quarter against BYU. Mm-hmm. I think if I were Utah, I would personally just say, you know what? Even if Brandon Rose can't necessarily lead us where we want to go right away, at least just invest into the youth instead of continuing to say, we're just going to trot out this guy who won us a couple Pac-12 titles. So, and it's funny because they always go, well, we won 2 Pac-12 titles, and I'm like, yeah, but that second one you had to have the weirdest tiebreaker rules I've ever seen.
Yeah, you had a bunch of weird tiebreakers. Yeah, you had to have tiebreakers, and that Caleb Williams hamstring.
Well, it wasn't just tiebreakers. It was
heal.
weird tiebreakers. There were teams that got in over where they lost head to head, but because the other team had lost to another team that was tied with them head to head. It was like a weird.
Didn't we talk about it that one year? It
was a weird rule.
Or it was like it was USC. It was like USC.
Yeah, and they won the game. They won the championship game against USC that year. So
I
wasn't completely mad about it.
That's when my hatred. That's when my hatred for Utah began. So all this bad QB luck that stems from 3 years ago. So it's really their fault when they said it shouldn't matter. Oh, it doesn't matter.
BYU also used that rule that you hated. They used that against Utah too. So they were using it against each other, and it was ugly to watch. I don't know if you know. Do you know what Utah likes to do?
Hey, you know this bullshit rule?
No, what is this rule?
You know how when the offense makes a sub. They have to allow the defense
to sub,
to make a sub.
Yeah, so Utah decides to send in the fattest fucker they have.
Send in his slowest, biggest guy.
Yeah, every time.
If the offense makes a late substitution, he'll send in his slowest, biggest guy, and then the refs hold on to the ball until the
play clock is out.
Until the play clock is out, and then you have to take a timeout or
hilarious.
And I have legitimately
it's like the NCAA hasn't addressed the rules.
They need to address it because that's defensive. That needs to be a defensive delay of game.
That's incredible gamesmanship.
That's not even gamesmanship. I'm like, that's just petty bullshit. That's just like sending it like it's. I'm like, that's not even. That's just petty.
That's
you're like, oh
so
fuck you.
Funny. That is.
I just be like, fine, I'll take the penalty. You want to play this game? I don't care. Whatever, dude. Like it's just petty.
That's incredible. I love that.
Yeah.
It's similar to Jokic just like letting the ball roll at the end of regulation when we're up 10.
They do that for basketball.
In basketball, it's the same thing where you're just like
the shot clock doesn't go.
Right, the shot clock doesn't start. It's the same kind of thing where you're just like wasting time to
What's the point?
Be an asshole. Like I love that. That's great.
So I hate God, if you're doing that back and forth, that must be the most just time stally bullshit.
Yeah, no, it was ugly. And BYU had to burn a couple timeouts because Utah did it right back at us. And
so, can we talk about this? I want to talk about this really quick because I saw it the next day, and apparently Utah's. I mean, to me, it was just deliciousness. How Utah's AD basically had a mental breakdown over a fairly obvious holding call.
Did you guys watch that?
I saw
the angle that I showed you. Okay, yeah,
I saw that angle before you said it to me.
There's no doubt about it. Like what that ref saw based on that angle that you see, you're like, okay, the ref saw that and went, yeah, I gotta call this. And if you watch what you might not have watched in it, if you watch it, Retzlaff's looking at that receiver and he sees the holding and realizes he has nobody to throw it to. If he's allowed to break open, that could have been. There's some BYU fans were like, "You guys think you're upset? You guys ruined us the chance to win the game on a 90-yard touchdown, a touchdown or something." Because the guy broke open and the safeties were already kind of cheating up. So it's
right.
Weren't they talking? I know, because I've listened to New Heights all the time. Not so much now, but I've listened to New Heights. They talk about that all the time. Where if you wanted. Travis made the comment of that's why you see a lot of guys will wear white gloves. So if they are doing that, it kind of hides it a little bit more. And I know Utah was in all red, and I think you guys were in all blue. So it's sort of ooh, they're wearing red gloves. You can't even hide that because it's just red on blue. And you can see it. Where it's if at least it was white, you might be able to. You might got away with it. But
and then the other complaint that Utah fans had was that. It wasn't called consistently the entire game. And then Terry, I think his name's Terry McCauley, he's an NFL ref, or he used to be an NFL ref.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He said he got the all the angles that both teams have.
They can see, yeah.
And he's allowed to get it because he works for Fox or something. I don't know. Basically,
he's ESPN,
he watched everything. But he works for ESPN. But he watched everything and said, "Yeah, no, that was called that way. The whole it was never there was never another time where he would have called it, but that was the only time he said I would have thrown that flag."
Yeah,
so it's so the AD does something unprecedented, pulls a page out of the Trump 2020 playbook and says, and says this was stolen from us. We won, but the professionalism of the Big 12 and the refs and blah blah blah. It's like
to be fair, the funniest thing I saw was when I sent you guys where it's like, you can come back to the Pac-12. We need another team anyway. You want to come back in Jeanty Urane? Come on, guys, come on back home.
Go get some Pac-12 championships. Yeah,
more Pac-12 championships. That'll be less than.
Oh, by the way, I forgot to send. Did I send you guys the funny GIF? I don't think I did.
Which one?
Maybe I did. It was of a cougar licking the athletic director.
You did not send me that, but that's fantastic.
I'm gonna send it to you guys right now. Hold on.
So
this is super funny. It's AI, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's like the
it's real.
Thing.
He had a photo shoot after the game.
You know what I was trying to do? I was trying to AI a picture of Deion Sanders in USC coaching gear, and it wouldn't let me.
Yeah, it'll never happen.
That GIF is like the greatest thing of all time. Anyways, and what was funny was I showed it to someone at work, and he wanted to find it like somewhere else so he could show it to other people, and he ended up googling "cougar licks Mark Harlan" or something, and then he said his phone.
Oh God, that must have been. Yeah.
Safe search is on.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, that's
an incognito mode that we're gonna have to do here.
You think about it, and you're like, oh yeah, no, I probably
without
want to be searching that.
Did you start to get a hot singles in your area ads all the time?
Those ads man, I missed those ads from back in the day.
Super funny, but anyways, no. So yeah, but BYU beat Utah, and it was. I mean, like, well, and what was funny about that's like not discussed about that whole thing was after that. They were still on the 19-yard line, first down.
Yeah, they were still way backed up. Yeah,
and you still had to get down the field to get into field goal range. But the last thing I thought that was great about that whole thing is there's shots, like it was on TV, but there's also shots like people took pictures of the BYU kicker. Mm-hmm. He was just smiling, chill on the sidelines. He was cool. He's like, I'm gonna go and make this. And they asked him. So they talked about this on the BYU radio on the post game, and they asked him, or they asked the coach was saying that they asked him, hey, where do you want the ball placed for your kick? And he said, doesn't matter. I'm gonna make it.
There you go.
I like the confidence.
Like,
that's what's
I'll
up.
kick it from wherever you guys leave it, and it'll go in.
Speaking of kicks, this is a random thing, but this happened. I don't know if do you guys watch College Game Day?
Not usually, no.
Very infrequently. I usually just see whatever comes up on social media.
Yeah. So on Twitter, some guy made a kick worth $800,000. So
I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that dude. Stone cold,
nailed it from like 35 yards or something.
It was 33 yards, and everyone's like, that easily could have gone 40. And so he was a soccer player from Indy, favorite team, Indianapolis Colts. And apparently somebody looked him up on Instagram. His Instagram picture was him at Pat McAfee's kicking camp. So I'm like, oh, this was destined.
That's fantastic.
So and the winner was, so the story, it was a 3-minute video, but the story was, so the way he goes, okay, so the way we pick this is if you're the first ones here, you get entered in a raffle to do this. And then if your ticket gets drawn, you do the kick thing. Some little 5'0" blonde girl won it. And she's like, I'm going to fail, And so they said, okay, you can have someone do it. And this guy, Henry Silver or whatever, was like, I'll do it. And she's like, okay, we'll just split it. And he's like, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
The guy, they both walk away with $200,000 because he just drilled this kick from 33 yards.
That's what's up. That's awesome.
And he literally was like, and they didn't show it, but Kurt made the comment that he must say, I think he kicked in high school.
I mean, if he played soccer, he should be able to make a 35-yarder, I would think.
So he walked up, he stepped back and did the whole thing. His motion was flawless. So I'm like, damn. This kid's gonna be popular this week.
I used to go. So we, Spects and I have a buddy who was a kicker, and I used to go with him and his dad to the high school to just kick field goals. Just because I was already hanging out with him, so we'd just go and keep. I was just there for fun basically, and he was doing training because he wanted to kick in high school.
Right.
Don't ask me how that all went down. I don't know how my buddy decided I'm going to train early to be a kicker.
I mean, you don't get hit. Salary's still pretty good, you know.
Anyway, so he but but that's what I'm saying. I actually never got like the backstory on that, and I've been friends with this guy for
I think it was something along the lines of like
or something.
He was just too scrawny. He wanted to play football, and he played soccer. So he's like, "Oh, I might as well just kick."
He didn't play soccer until after he played football. Until after he was doing
football. Okay,
soccer was a way to help him with football.
That was probably what it was then, because he wasn't exactly the biggest guy. Like even when he was working out, he was still like $150 soaking wet.
So, but anyway, so there was one time he hadn't yet made a 30-yard field goal. Mm-hmm. This was like when he was still in like I think it was like 6th grade, 7th grade, and and I made a 30-yard field goal because I had like a good foot. Right. I just wasn't very accurate, and so I was always kind of like, "Cool, I made a 30-yard field goal." And he was kind of salty about it for a little while, but then he obviously got way better at kicking.
Yeah, he hit a walk-off 40-something yard field goal when we were in high school against, and he played for my rival high school, and that was the last time they won. So that stood for like a decade.
Jeez,
a 40 set walk-off field goal at my school's home. Yeah, he was pretty good. I'm still
surprised he didn't at least get into like more higher college ranks, but
I don't know. Kickers are weird because usually it's just walk.
You have to walk on.
It's usually a random walk on, so it's like, oh, you want did you really want to pay for that?
Nowadays, a lot of the kickers are they're having a walk on. They're having a walk on at smaller schools. Yep. And then transfer. Yeah, the big schools look at the smaller schools and go, "Oh, hey, like BYU's guy right now is he kicked for Utah State for like a year, and then he transferred to BYU. He always wanted to go to BYU was the thing. So
now with the transfer rules being what they are, it's a little easier.
Yeah,
I thought that was cool. This random guy made this girl's day, and for 200 on a 33-yard field goal, like bro's gonna walk with his dick out the next couple weeks. God damn,
that's what's up.
Yeah, good for that guy.
Good for him.
So CJ, if they go to Colorado, you got to kick that 33-yard field goal.
Oh, no problem, dude. I played soccer all through high school. I can definitely hit a 33-yard.
Do you look like a college student? You want to get there at 3 in the morning?
Oh, I can look like a college student. Wear my hat on backwards. Some, some the Nike socks. Is that what the kids wear nowadays?
Start saying everything is sus, and
yeah, everything is sus, and
everything's sussy. What? I mean, just talk magic. You'll fit right in.
That's true, right?
You might just need to have a joint on you somewhere, but you'll be good.
I'm in Colorado. Those are easy to get, dude. No problem.
You see that and some Adderall, you'll be good to go.
Oh gosh. Do you want to mix marijuana and Adderall?
I don't know. One's enough.
It'd be fine.
You do it in the opposites.
It'd be fine.
I would say one's enough for one's a down.
Fight each other, and you'd both be like, and also
honestly, you might get some stuff done.
Wouldn't the marijuana
you might get
Adderall cause you to? But wouldn't the marijuana mixed with the Adderall cause you to be like super what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't think so. Well, so okay, it depends a lot on what type of. We're not gonna get into this. It depends a lot on what type of weed you smoke as well.
Isn't it?
There's a
brand you're getting.
Yeah, whether you're getting an indica or a sativa, and there's different strains. And I live in Colorado. I know some stuff.
I just remember I had a shop I had a job where there was a high school right by us, and they would smoke behind the thing, and they'd always and then finally got rid of this couch because you get the homeless started pissing on it and stuff, so we got rid of it. And one day where I'm out there and like, "How'd you get rid of the couch?" And I'm like, "Huh?" It's like, "We used to chill back there, bro." And I'm like,
"Smoke couch."
Yeah, and I'm like, and I looked at him like, "Dude, you do realize I'm like, dude, we don't care. Our bosses didn't care. The only thing we were gonna do is if we came out there, it's like, you're gonna share. Like, that's all we wanted.
Right? Yeah.
We don't care. We're like, bro, it's the homeless. It wasn't you. I care less." we're like, dude, we're all in our late 20s. Think we give a shit? We might. We went back there and it smelled like skunk, and we're just like, what the hell?
Someone is having a great time.
Yeah, I'm like, and we all stopped. We're just like, Okay, this is bullshit.
So I think we all got super sidetracked. So Jeanty versus Hunter.
Jeanty versus Hunter.
Yes.
So wait,
we started talking about BYU for like a second.
Those aren't lead brands. My bad.
No, but Jeanty versus Hunter. My reasoning is what Jeanty is doing is crazy.
He's just Reggie Bush. Exactly. It's just Reggie Bush.
Reggie Bush won Heisman.
He did. Reggie Bush did win a Heisman. That is true.
And something yards back to back in back-to-back games.
Yeah, that's literally like most of the time. The only reason that Jeanty doesn't get those kinds of stats is because they're up by like 20, and they're like, "Yeah, okay, we're gonna pull you."
But the whole thing is,
like today, he played San Jose State, and it was a close game, and he had 32 carries for 159 yards. Not amazing yards per carry, but
that's bad by his standards so far this year. Honestly,
it's 5 yards on average still, though. Like
that's still good.
The ball, and you're marching down the field basically.
But the question I have, because I do think it'll probably be Hunter. It just seems to make sense because he's playing every snap, and that's not something necessarily to hold against. Either like anyone else.
My only concern is Hunter's stats on both sides are good, but not elite on both sides.
But the whole thing is, okay, for that, my football experience on both sides of the ball was quarterbacking and then playing middle linebacker. Not the same.
He's somebody you have to pay attention to on both sides of the ball.
But question,
he's also not a game stopper on both sides of the ball.
So Travis Hunter is 12th in the country in receiving yards. Just throwing that out there, and I think top 10 in touchdowns.
But if you were to give a receiver the Heisman, he needs to be top 5.
Yeah, but here's
if he only plays receiver.
Yeah,
the difference is he also is elite at corner. He's two players.
Side of the ball, he's like again good.
He's shut down. He's
good,
10, but if you're top 10,
he had a touchdown scored on him by Zach.
That was the first one all year. That was the first one he's had scored against him all year. But you're right, he did have a touchdown against him today.
But if
I think it's partially due for him. The reason that was the first one was partially due to Aura. There's a lot of I'm not going to go Hunter's way if I can go whoever your guys' other corner is.
But if you're a top 10 corner,
but that's what made
receiver.
Yeah,
that outweighs anything else, right? Because you're a top 10
positions. I think so. Because how many people have done that ever? Like Desmond Howard in the 90s, maybe, but he didn't play nearly as many snaps.
Well, I know somebody was saying like Adoree Jackson, and I don't think Adoree Jackson. I think Adoree Jackson was a top 25 in both positions, from what I remember.
Gosh,
but I know he wasn't. But I know he wasn't like at that elite level.
No,
because it's like we were talking about the Shohei Ohtani thing, and it's like, you know, how much you take into account of that, where it's like he's not necessarily pitching every day, but he's pitching at an elite level, hitting at an elite level. So if you're saying like, oh, Travis Hunter's playing both at, I don't want to say at elite level, even though I kind of want to, but it's like a top 10, 15 level in both.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's, how much is that going to outweigh every other stat?
I guess I should walk back a little bit. I think he is deserving to be in the conversation, and if it wasn't for Jeanty's year, for me, he would be a clear first choice.
And I agree, right? I'm in the same boat where if Jeanty wasn't doing what he's doing, Hunter would be clear. If Hunter wasn't doing what he's doing, Jeanty would be clear. Like, I think in either case, like neither one of them are a bad choice. Obviously, they both deserve it. The downside is they're both having incredible seasons at the same time.
Pick one.
So
pick one, right?
Sometimes as I get into these like debates, it sounds like I'm saying, "Well, Hunter doesn't deserve it." No.
Yeah.
Definitely know what I'm saying.
100%. Yeah.
It's the Shohei Ohtani Aaron Judge debate from a couple of years ago, where it's like, well, which was
both are amazing. Yeah. It's like,
to be fair, Ohtani should have won.
Take away from either when both are doing things that were amazing.
Fair,
yeah.
Right. I will stand on my business and say Ohtani should have won it. I don't think a home run record should dictate just an offensive output should outweigh what kind of like, you know, we were saying, where it's like an elite in both categories outweighs elite in one.
Sure. Right, that's getting off topic a little bit, but
but it's like, but I'm saying,
but it's a similar thing. Yeah, I understand. I just
don't. You're saying. The only thing is, like, I don't necessarily know if it'll outplay, because because how many guys? Because we were like looking over the voting for it, and we don't necessarily know how many of them, how much of it turned over. But looking at the voting, how many guys are going to be the old hats and be like, well, because I think in terms of wide receivers, the last wide receiver was Devonta Smith.
Yeah, back in.
So I mean, and that was like
that was a weird year because there were like no good quarterbacks.
Yeah. So, but my point being is that like old hat thinking going to give it to the running back who's dominating over the guy who's doing both on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I get that. And
I can understand that. Yeah.
That's the question.
I think also too what's going to happen.
What I think you're going to find, and because I mean, like based on all the polls I see from ESPN, everybody thinks it should be Jeanty. Not everybody, but like he usually gets 55 to 65% of the votes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and then it's Hunter with like 30 usually,
like the rest of them basically.
But in terms of media, like and the people who decide these things, it seems more likely that Hunter wins. Probably running away.
Well, yeah, because Hunter's campaigning for himself because his own podcast.
And the thing is the other thing
for himself. He does the Heisman post. I will say that is one of the things that bothers me. It's one of the reasons I've always not loved
Everyone
LeBron. Is LeBron doing the whole "I'm the king, I am the greatest of all time"? It's like,
but everyone does the Heisman pose. That's a college football tradition. Is the Heisman pose in the end zone?
I love
he didn't do it in the end zone. He
did it after
an interception that was
tipped interception. He did it after the touchdown.
It wasn't even his play, really. It was
that other safety came up, and that was a good play by that other defensive back. But I think what also helps Travis Hunter a lot is every one of his games is nationally televised. Whereas Boise State, you got to go find that game. Like a lot of the voters probably
CBS Sports Network because of Mountain West.
Right, but like if you're in Boston,
it's a media bias. Even if ESPN and Fox and whatever were picking up the games, and like he was nationally televised every week. Mm-hmm. I still think that because of Dion and all the media stuff that goes around Colorado right now, it's because like one of the things I do chafe at a little bit is the fact that now that Colorado's like starting to click a lot, everybody's like, oh yeah, they're the best team in the Big 12, but it's like BYU still hasn't lost a game. Like, wait for them to lose a game before you start crowning Colorado the best team. Like,
we're just the sexy team right now. That's what it is.
We're not. That's the thing. BYU doesn't have anybody. BYU the most media friendly player that they have is Jake Retzlaff, and he's very good, and he's got a good mentality where it's like he'll tell you like in interviews like I know we can win, like we can beat everybody sort of thing, like that's
right.
His
but he's
mentality.
Also not Shadur Sanders.
But he's not Shadur Sanders or Travis Hunter or Deion Sanders, and Kalani's not Deion Sanders in that way because Kalani Stock is not going to go out and be like, yeah, my guys, they should be Heisman candidates, and he's sitting out there going, our team is great. We play great as a team. We play complementary. It's like, and it is true, and that's why I think that's what will fascinate me if BYU and Colorado meet in the conference championship game, which is basically more about me saying, does BYU win one of the last three, which I think they will. I think I looking at how the game's gone tonight so far. Other than the first drive for Kansas, it looks like BYU might be able to handle their business.
Gotcha. Okay.
And start 10-0, which would be
they didn't even start
10-0 in 2020. They went 11-1 in 2020 or 12-1 by the end. No. They went 12-2, I think, at the end because or not 12-2, 11-2 at the end because I think they lost their bowl game that year because they had a lot of guys sit out.
Mm-hmm.
But they went 9-0 to start the year, and that was the year where everybody was like, well, BYU doesn't deserve this because they're playing a bunch of easy cream puff teams, and it was like their original schedule was going to be really difficult, and COVID hit. So it was like, it sucked, but like they did the best they could with what they had. And then they lost to Coastal Carolina in their 10th game that they had set up randomly like that week, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And
I remember that.
And so like they're 10-0 now, or if they win tonight, they go 10-0, and it's like that's their first 10-0 start since I think 2000. I think 2004 they started 10-0, or not 2004, 2001 they started 10-0. Let me double check that though. But like, it'd be their first 10-0 start in over 20 years. I know they started 10-1 in '96. They had a really good year that year, but I'm trying to remember 10. I think they started 10-0 in. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, they won. They went 11-1 that year in the regular season, and then they lost the bowl game too, so they went 11-2, or no, 12-2. So they started. Did I miscount? Okay, no, they started 12-0, and then they lost in. They lost their 13th game because that was back when you could play 13 games in the regular season.
Gotcha.
So yeah, they went 12-2. They lost to Hawaii, which was a crazy game. This is in 2001. Lost to Hawaii 72-45.
That's hilarious.
Which is probably part of what happened.
Man, that probably Hawaii games sometimes are just insane. There was that time where they were crazy, right? They had I don't remember who their quarterback was, but
for a while,
Colt Brennan, that's who it was. Yeah, he was nuts.
And for a while with Hawaii, they used to be so good because they were
their air raid offense was.
They were
that offense, the weird ass time zone.
They were getting all the Polynesian recruits that BYU wasn't getting.
Yeah,
and then Utah entered the conversation, and then. Once Utah entered the conversation, other schools started to go, oh, Polynesians make some good football players, don't they?
Yeah, those Samoans are big dudes.
Vita Vea, that guy's a monster.
So, BYU just got touchdowns, so now they're up 10-7.
Yeah, BYU's fine.
So
they'll
I really hope they do. I want it to be that as we're playing, I'm not too distracted during Fortnite, because I want to be able to be like, I want to be able to just like look over and be like, oh, we're up, 2-3 touchdowns, cool, and then just keep playing.
Honestly, the perfect scenario right here is if BYU runs the table, Colorado runs the table, Colorado beats BYU in the conference championship game, and both teams get in because BYU's only got one loss. I think that would be perfect, right? Then we both make the playoff.
Probably be best for the Big 12, but if I will still, as a BYU fan, I won't be sitting there going. Well, I'm okay
1,000%. Yeah, no, I understand.
I want to win the Big 12, and be like, look, we won the Big 12 conference this year.
Yeah, no, I 100% get it, but I'm saying, like, for me, that's the only way we get both teams.
Be like, we won the Big 12 conference our second year in it.
Yeah,
we went to the college football playoff. We got beat there, but we won. And if you come, you can help make it so we can go even further, sort of. Like that's what
Alabama of the West. It's common.
BYU's got a quarterback there tonight. His name's Ryder Lyons. So they're trying to. He's currently kind of projected to be going towards USC because his brother's a tight end for USC.
Well, you should.
But
we beat Nebraska. We're back. We're so back.
BYU's trying to get him to. And if we got him, that'd be crazy because that'd be a 5-star quarterback, one of the top quarterbacks in the class.
We're going to get bowl eligibility from beating a crappy UCLA team next week, and then get our teeth kicked in from Notre Dame the following week. It's going to be amazing.
Congratulations on being in the Midas Touch 365 Bowl.
I'm not going to watch. All right, shifting gears to the NBA.
Yeah, NBA stuff.
Tournaments going on. The Cavs are 14-0.
Like, what goes on with this tournament schedule?
Yeah, Spects was like, I don't know what this is.
Bullshit. Because it's
I like this though.
I think it's good. It was implemented in the smartest way possible. It doesn't add any new games. It makes regular season games matter just a little bit more, and we get some eyesores of courts on TV.
That's the whole thing. Terrible. It's like what are the? It's like what? It's all the national televised games, and it's just like, oh, the court's different. This game's different.
It is,
and weren't they? And my favorite thing was last year is they were bitching about the Lakers court because they couldn't see the ball with the jerseys. And I'm like, y'all designed this shit. What are you complaining about?
The courts are better this year, but they're still bad.
Yeah, they're still.
They have the stupid trophy in the middle is what kills it for me. I'm like, get rid of the little trophy behind the logo, and I think you have something.
Just come up with a nice in-season tournament like logo that you can plaster on
put it on the baseline. Yeah, and then have more neutral colors. Yeah, exactly. And we don't have to have giant blue hardcourt.
That one that's along the 3-point line.
Yeah, or that one too. Yeah, but like,
yeah,
they could do so much better.
When you have the finals, they have the finals plaster. They don't put like a thing in the middle like the final.
Yeah. Well, actually, they do the Super
Bowl. You don't see the Super Bowl midfield. Super Bowl 55.
I actually think they do.
This really doesn't matter for.
I'm pretty sure they do.
You're right.
For 20, well, we all know this doesn't matter for the 29 teams that lose. It only matters for the one team that wins.
That's true. Like I said in our chain, we played these games and LeBron adds a new trophy.
Lakers.
I'm just kidding.
And then non-ball knowers will use that in the GOAT conversation. And
yeah,
like Michael Jordan didn't win in-season tournament. It's like,
to be fair, he didn't win an in-season tournament MVP, huh?
It always, so this is what grinds my gears, is anytime anyone brings up all-star game MVPs in any kind of argument, and I'm like, no, shut up, these don't matter.
Kobe has like 20.
So, yeah, who cares?
We talked about this before. I think we talked about this before him, but Cleveland.
Yeah.
14 now.
Wow, that team, Cleveland. like I saw going into last year, I saw that team, and I like the way that team was getting built. I was like, they are doing something sneakily good over there. They weren't like, they got Donovan Mitchell, sure.
They're the one superstar.
But, like, they weren't doing anything. They weren't doing anything. They weren't signing LeBron, sort of thing. It was just they built this like sneaky good roster, and they're like, hey, okay, yeah, we're gonna win because we have all this young, really good talent.
They have a lot of just good NBA players, right? You have
the question is this kind of team without, like, other than Donovan Mitchell, they don't really have like one big name.
No, but they have a lot of guys on the edge.
But no, that's what I'm saying. But like, I think a lot of the time when we get to the playoffs and the finals and stuff, a lot of people tend to say, well, you need like that star power that'll like push you over the limit, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Donovan Mitchell has shown he's not great in the playoffs. So it's like, does this start preclude, like, or does this start show like, oh, this could be a team to defend with in the finals, or is this just kind of a mirage of like they're off to a nice start, but they're gonna fizzle out eventually?
How have they played? That's the real. Let's start.
I think it might come down to, well, last year their problem was health. I think they had one player play over 70 games. I think it was Jared Allen, but like everyone else was in like the 40 to 50 game range. They missed like 30 games apiece. I think they might have a second star. He just hasn't become that yet. But I'm not sure if it's Mobley or Garland. That's the thing. Is like they have two guys that potentially could become that second star. Because they're almost on the edge there. But it depends on how those two kind of improve as the season goes on, I think. And to be fair, they do have a second All-Star. Jared Allen is technically an All-Star. He did go to an All-Star game a couple years ago. So it's but he's also not like your prototypical like NBA star. He's a defensive big.
Like I said, well, who have they played? So in terms of like the playoff teams, they've played the Knicks, the Lakers. They played the Bucks. That weird like home.
The Bucks are terrible. They're not a playoff team.
The Bucks are bad.
They're horrific.
The Pelicans and then the Warriors.
What's funny is when the Bucks won that championship a few years ago, I remember thinking, this is going to be a great team for years to come.
That was such... You know what's funny? I don't think we've necessarily talked about it, but that season was so finicky because basically half the league that went deep into the playoffs, so like the Lakers and the Heat, I think the Nuggets kind of got this too, where it was like they were gassed. Because that ended it was just like the season ran into each other. So a lot of like the teams that went deep into the playoffs and had really deep runs didn't do real well that fall.
Yeah, that's true. That was right after the bubble. Yeah, that was the season after the bubble. So that was an odd year. Yeah.
So like you had that really odd chance where it could have been like the Atlanta Hawks and like the Phoenix Suns. It was like a reset year for the league. So all those teams that were like, historically never did well.
And you had injuries too. Like that was the year Jamal Murray tore his ACL. So we didn't have Jamal Murray or Michael Porter Jr. That's why we got swept by the Suns.
He had it was like a really odd year. Like the Lakers, I think didn't make it, but they were like gassed. Same thing with the Heat. I think they were gassed.
And then I think we had Kawhi Leonard injuries for the Clippers, who made the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, so you had a lot of they got and I think the only reason why the Bucks win as far as they did is because they got booed in like the semifinals
the year before.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
They lost the Heat in the semifinals, so they didn't have a deep run. So it was, again, you had these teams where it's like the teams that didn't have deep runs just made it through. And again, Chris Paul's a loser and doesn't win anything, so that also bodes well for him.
But yeah,
but in terms of so going back to the Cavs, the game to circle where I think it ends is they play the Celtics on Tuesday.
Yes.
So I think that's going to be the marker, because then it's sort of then they don't play the next team that they play. That's that's where it probably ends. Again, the Celtics on the first.
Yeah, and then the Nuggets after that
in Boston.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. But
I'm assuming that's where it's going to end. It's going to end Tuesday.
Right, but you're right. 14-0 is great, but yeah, their schedule has not been. It's been really easy. Like you said, Knicks, Lakers, Magic. The Bucks are a mess who they beat twice. Warriors are good, but then you have the Raptors, Pistons, Wizards, Pelicans, who are in a hospital right now because of all the injuries. The Nets, Bulls, 76ers, who also have all the injuries. Bulls again. Probably 8 to 10 of these wins are against bad teams.
Yeah, so that's what I was sort of saying. It's oh, you blew out the Lakers by 24, but that was an East Coast game, and I think they played a back-to-back, so that was just going to be a mess to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, it looks like this weird home and home thing
with the Bucks. Yeah,
mind you, that was a 1 point win, a 1 point win, and a 2 point win. So that was close.
Yeah.
So it's not exactly you're playing. And I think they beat there's a lot of oddities, but again, I assume it's going to end on Tuesday. They'll probably beat the Hornets, and then they'll probably lose to the Cavs or the Celtics, I guess. But again, I don't know going forward, because they're in. I think their division's really weak too, right?
That's a great question. Yeah, it's Pistons, Pacers, Bulls, Bucks. So the Pacers are the best team in that division, and they're 5-7. Their division is. I mean, this is just the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference sucks. I've said this many times. Why in the hell do we still have West and East? Why can't we just take the top 16 teams? That's for another thing. But the Eastern Conference is terrible. There are 3 teams over 500 in the East. 3. There are 3 teams.
I'm convinced that's partially the reason why the Heat do so well. Is they just suck a little bit less than everyone else.
The West has 9 teams over 500.
Yeah, we were talking about this last week.
Yeah, we've talked about this before. It's terrible.
Is there anything else we want to talk about, or we just want to call it?
Don't think there's a whole lot. Bill Belichick is about to score. It looks like so.
Who? What?
Bill Belichick coming back to coaching. Was that real?
Yeah, I hope he likes Chicago, because that's probably where he's going to go. He's the Bears' only hope. You know what's funny?
I want to see him go back to the Jets, because that'd be comedy.
So here's he hates the Jets.
I know it'd be so funny. Him and Aaron Rodgers.
But here's what's so funny is I was again, shout out to Brandon Perna, the
GOAT,
arguably the best football channel on YouTube in that realm, was did a one of those balls deep for the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
And literally basically the synopsis was basically Matt Eberflus is the reason why, or not Matt, the guy before Matt Eberflus, not Trussell.
Jim Tressel, yeah, the guy that came from Ohio State, right?
No, not that guy.
Not him. Canada. Okay.
The guy from Canada.
Oh, he was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs for a little bit, right?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Basically, that guy's the reason why they suck. It's basically the synopsis, because they keep getting picks, and they should have fired Eberflus this offseason and hired Kingsbury or something, and not do what they did, because
Matt Nagy.
Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy also sucked. That
John
was the guy
Fox,
right after.
Mark Trestman,
John
Lovey
Mark
Smith.
Trestman.
Yeah, that's what I said. Tressman, the guy that was the college coach. Yeah, right.
Yeah, Tressman sucks.
He was terrible.
That's Jim. No, that's Jim Tressel. Jim Tressel was a Ohio State coach that just retired.
Oh, I got him confused.
From Canada.
Yeah,
Mark Tressman's from Canada.
I got him confused.
So very likely they can't. Ohio State can't win a big game, and either Canada can't win a war. Nevertheless, but yeah. So basically, it's all his fault. And he ruined Jay Cutler, who Broncos legend, Jay Cutler.
He should have in the future, man.
So I don't know. If the Bears go out and get somebody like a Bill Belichick, I don't know if that necessarily helps them. I don't know how to fix that thing. Maybe not get a guy who, when asked like, "Hey, what do you have to say about Chicago getting him?" And in Joe, what's his face from Seattle, was like, "Hey, he's a nice guy."
Part of what they need to do is going into this when they go into this offseason, like in the draft, and then also whatever they can do in free agency. Mm-hmm. They need to not necessarily, like, a lot of teams will tell you, like, one of the examples I would say is Atlanta picked up. There's been a couple of times they picked up guys where it was like, well, you couldn't ignore this, and what they picked up was 1 year it was Bijan Robinson. And then the next year it was what's his name from Washington, the quarterback.
Penix. Yeah,
Michael Penix. It was kind of like they were like, well, yeah, we're pretty good at that position, but we couldn't ignore the talent that was available. And it's like, you need to
need a certain position.
You need to pick up the best position. And if you're going to sit here and say, well, this guy was available at this time, then trade down for somebody who wants him right there.
Well,
get another pick.
Okay, but see,
I don't know. It's just like so.
That logic is stupid, because that doesn't that's Atlanta. That's another story. But Chicago's just mentally.
No. That's what I'm saying. Chicago needs to go into this draft, and instead of saying, "Well, we're going to take the best players available," you've got a great centerpiece in your quarterback. I mean, Caleb Williams has at least flashed brilliance this year. I don't know how.
You know what?
He's been, I haven't paid attention, but.
I've wondered this.
Get that man an offensive line.
And
go and pick up the best offensive line available in the draft.
They've given up the second most sacks in the league this year.
I've wondered this.
You can build a good, decent offensive line in the draft if you pick like offensive linemen for the first couple rounds.
I've wondered this, and no one's really come and said definitively. I think the reason why you're seeing linemen get and we saw it this past draft with like the defensive side of the defensive line side of the ball,
Well, I think even there was a decent amount of O-linemen taken in the
no. But the thing is they've talked about. I've heard people talk about this, how like the line play is gotten worse and worse in college, and it's getting worse. I think what's happening,
funneling up to the NFL.
It's funneling up to the NFL. So I think what's happening is you're getting guys like teams like the Bears, where in a perfect world. Is if they're like, hey, we're going to draft skill positions in the draft, because if we draft O-line, we're not going to... Even the best O-line guys, like the best guards, whatever, they're still going to... They're not going to be able to play the way we need them to play. So we're wasting that year anyway, because they can't play how we play, because they don't... In college, you play spread, and they're not in a 3-point stance. They're mainly in 2-point stances. And the NFL is mainly 3-point stances.
Mm-hmm.
If the smart teams, it looks like now, may not draft like a full line, but they might draft like, 1 or 2 spots and then fill the gaps with free agency is generally how it goes. So in terms of that, I understand the logic, because if they know like we're going to get blasted with if we get a couple rookies, whether they're the best ones or not, because they can't play the way we need them to play, and that's been occurring, then it makes sense. But you have to fill that gap in free agency. And be like, all right, we're going to fill it this way. So at least if we draft one guy in the second round, he can at least learn. But that's been a big issue, is that they're not playing that same way. So,
and I will
play is so further down than it usually is.
I will mention the Broncos have done this a little bit. For a while, they were just throwing dartboards in the draft for offensive linemen, and it's been terrible. This last 2 years, we've went and grabbed a couple of offensive linemen, McGlinchey and Ben Powers. Right now, we are giving up the 5th least sacks in the NFL. So I think there's some credence to what you're saying, where rather than trying to build through the draft, when it comes to offensive line play, it might make more sense to focus on getting those free agents who already have some NFL experience and have kind of worked through
and then
all
like you
the
pigeon
garbage.
Because the one thing I've constantly like sort of heard is like when the linemen get hurt is when they put rookies in, it's all of a sudden like instantly wherever that guy is where they're going to attack because he's not used to being in a 3-point stance the entire time. In college, like you see it all the time. They're in 2-point stances where your hand's not in the dirt.
Right.
You know, you're up. So I wonder if that's part of it. So teams will, as much as like Bryce, like, well, they shouldn't be saying that. I don't think they have much of a choice because if you're a team that's trying to win now or build, you can't risk having, you know, a couple tackles not be able to block, you know, the defensive line in that position to defend a rookie. So like realistically, Chicago's strategy might need to be what they're doing, but instead of trading for Keenan Allen, you got to trade for the not sexy guy. That's
the offensive lineman.
You got to trade for Jason Kelce. You got to trade. I'm gonna use Jason Kelce. He's the only lineman I remember. But like, that's what you have to do. You can't be trading for Keenan Allen. You got to trade for.
Well, and I will say, I think part of like some of these surprise things in college football this year, part of what ends up being good for them is that a lot of them are picky. I have like really bulked up on their O-line and gotten coaches who can develop good O-linemen. Like if you like, I'll use the one that I know of. But if you look at BYU, they had a guy who Oklahoma State's coach when this guy transferred. His name's oh my gosh, why am I forgetting his name?
I like how it comes back to BYU too. By the way,
well, it's what I know. Yeah, it's what he knows, right? Like, his name's Caleb Etienne.
And I love the fact too that
he was at Oklahoma State, and when he transferred, well, no, we were talking about like how the college offensive line game has lagged, and it's true. But one of the reasons BYU I think has been able to be a surprise for people is because they went out and they got some decent offensive linemen in the portal, and then they got a way better like their coach last year was just not a good offensive line coach. And they got a way better offensive line coach, and he's developing these guys. So, like, and one of the other guys that's playing tonight, because BYU had a tackle get injured, his name is Isaiah Jota, and he was an offensive lineman for Colorado last year that Dion was like, get out of here.
Right. Because
he played poorly, but they've been able to develop him that, like, he's plugging in and he's doing fine. So it's like, I think if college teams want to, like, make a little bit of a splash in the near future, it would be to really invest in like having a good O-line coach and a good like O-line development.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to get out of the spread offense and actually play more pro style, but I don't think that's going to change anymore because I think high school plays more spread offense than like under center.
Yeah,
I mean, college is where they got to learn then.
A lot of the wheels of change are going slowly because it's like the NFL goes into doing one thing for a long time, and then when they change, it takes a while for that change to start funneling back up.
I mean, I think part of
these guys who aren't experienced in what the NFL is doing now,
but
in a couple years they will be.
Well, it also doesn't help that part of it too is like you got more mobile quarterbacks. You don't have like Peyton Manning's here, Phillip Rivers, and Ben Roethlisberger's in college anymore. Most of them are slightly mobile and not just like we're going to stay in the pocket.
Though they're not all super smart about keeping themselves healthy, like Anthony Richardson is.
He's dead to me.
That's true. Hey, he's starting again. Congratulations. Apparently, he cares about football again.
Yeah, because
that was hilarious to read.
Because Joe Flacco's just as bad. Shocking.
Well, it was funny. Did you read about why he was benched? Like
Anthony
Richardson, where basically coaches
he benched at one point, and then they were like, "Okay, we just won't play you anymore."
Right, like coaches did it to like get his attention because he wasn't like putting in the work. That's not great.
Get rid of him.
That's not a great sign.
Get rid of him. Get rid of him. Like, there's no you can't be. God, I want everyone gone, and everyone in my football chat's like, you're just overreacting. No, I want these motherfuckers gone. They don't draft anyone, and then it's just like when it's fucking Kenny Moore literally said it. He's like, it's the same shit year after year. Yeah, because no one in there knows what the fuck they're doing. You drafted, I looked it up. How Chris Ballard's in his basically been there a decade, I think 7 or 8 years. Mm-hmm. He has drafted 2 offensive guys in the first round, being an O lineman and Anthony Richardson. Everyone else has been either defensive side of the ball or low or high end second round picks. That's it. He doesn't do anything else. I'm like, you can't win with a guy like that who doesn't spend draft picks and draft capital to improve this offense and just hoping he can go bargain shopping in the second round. Because, no offense, Michael Pittman's not a number 1 receiver. Alec Pierce is not a number 1 receiver. Josh Downs is a number 1 receiver. You can't expect Anthony Richardson to go out there and throw the ball 60 yards when you have no one for him to throw to. This is why Houston is better than you, why Jacksonville was better than you, and why Tennessee will probably be better than you. Because they know how to draft and don't just bargain shop. It's asinine with what they do. I've never seen anything like this. It's asinine.
These first round picks are rough. Besides Quentin Nelson, who's a monster.
It's just been miss after miss because it's been safety after safety, and I'm just like, this is asinine.
He likes defensive linemen, and I don't know who some of these guys are, so that should tell you.
No, that's what I laugh at. Is I'm like, this is asinine. Like you can't look at what he's done and say he's doing a good job. It's wild. I'm like, you're in quarterback hell and you're drafting safeties.
Hell yeah!
You have a quarterback hell. It's like you have a quarterback who doesn't want to be there, then let him go. I don't care. Fire Steichen, fire Ballard, get someone in there who's going to actually develop somebody. This is stupid. You're in a winnable division. Get your shit together. It's not that hard.
You really are. That's what makes it kind of crazy.
Denver can do it with Bo Nix.
We're trying.
And one wide receiver in
Cortland Sutton. Let's go. He's bringing the group up, man.
That's it. They're working on Vibes and Bo Nix.
Cortland Sutton's a legend. Let's go.
But I digress. We can end here.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. We enjoy you guys. Bye. We'll be back Thursday probably. Bye.
Should be bye.
Bye. Hold on. I still have to find the